Hey everybody, hey runners and beer drinkers and coffee drinkers, iced coffee in this case, and lovers of all things Portland and Oregon. My name is Nathan Freeberg with the Oregon Brewery Running Series. This is the Oregon Brewery Running Series show. How's that for a creative name? And today I'm excited to be talking with the founder of Nossa Familia, Augusto. How do you say your last name?
Carneiro.
One more time?
Depends. You can say it like,
Like a little bit closer.
You can say it like a regular gringo, like Carneiro.
Carneiro.
Yeah, that's the easier way.
Carneiro.
Yeah.
Is that close?
Yeah, that was better, yeah.
Carneiro, Augusto Carneiro, the founder of Nossa Familia, and I'm excited to talk to you about all things Nossa Familia. You guys have been at every single one of our events, giving coffee samples to participants, and we've had such amazing feedback. People love it, so thank you.
Oh, welcome.
It's been it's awesome to show up to a race in the morning, have coffee, and enjoy just what that represents. But before we get too far into this interview, I have 3 announcements. The first one is that if you would like to run with us at any of our events coming up for free, and you're one of the first 5 people, you can use code NOSSA-FREE, N-O-S-S-A. That promo code will get you a free entry into any of our events. Or if you're not fast enough, you can use NOSSA5 to get $5 off. And fast enough, I mean registering, not running. NOSSA5 for that. So join us. We have 4 events coming up in the spring, 4 in the summer, and 4 more in the fall. Go to our website. You can click on the link that should be either above or below this video. I never know exactly where they are. And you can register there. The second thing is get outside and get active today. If you haven't seen, it's beautiful. Portland spring is finally here. The rain hopefully has stopped, and hopefully it's stays this way for a while. And I forgot the third thing, so we're going to ignore that. Augusto, good morning.
Good morning.
How much coffee have you already had to drink today?
I usually start with a couple cups.
Okay.
A couple cups at home. Brew coffee for me and my wife, and then I ride my bike in at least 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then I immediately go to the espresso bar here, get another cup. But I've tried to reduce it to 1 latte a day, so 1 milk-based drink a day.
Okay.
Just for, watch my figure.
Well, if you're biking in every day, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, right? Almost every day. Yeah. Okay. That's fun. Well, like I said, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit, get to learn about Nossa and the what that is all about, and just kind of how you got started. So why don't we start at the beginning? How did you get into the coffee business? I know you're from Brazil, and you have coffee kind of in your background. Your family was involved. You were an engineer, I think, and then decided that was boring or didn't like it.
Yeah.
So how do you go from that into starting a coffee roastery? And I should add too that we are up here in the Pearl at Nossa's main roasting facility, world headquarters. Yes. And you can't see it here, but we've got an espresso machine, we've got a whole bunch of coffee makers, a miniature roaster there. This is your test lab?
Yeah,
or something like that. Okay.
Yeah,
and then bags of beans and bigger roasters and all kinds of cool stuff over there. So how did you get into this industry, into this business, into this way of life?
Yeah, and whenever you have a switch of career, it always starts with frustration, and it's usually not a one day. It's like months or a year of questioning, what am I doing with this engineering career, and so it was some frustration.
Sure.
And then I had enough, and I was visiting Brazil and came back with a box of 70 pounds of coffee.
Wow.
And gave some away.
From the family farm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my cousin roasted it at the farm.
Very cool.
And so I, got really good reviews. This was back in 2004.
Okay.
And I found a colleague who had studied business, so he knew a little bit more than me. And we each put $400 in to start, open the first bank account.
Wow.
And to pay for the first FedEx shipment. Actually, DHL.
DHL. Okay. Back from
Brazil to here. Yeah. And that was the beginning, but it took 3 years for me to get my first paycheck. We say besides the $400, we didn't have any other investors, but I did have, after a year, I quit my job and my wife went back to work to pay the home bills.
Those are important, yeah.
But it's been a really interesting journey going from nothing to now we have a team of 35 plus employees.
Yeah, they're running around all over the place. Yeah,
yeah,
nice people too.
Super nice. Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of building a business.
Sure.
We've really focused on hiring really good people and treating people well and having fun.
Yeah, that's good. So your family owned coffee farm. Do they still own? Like, are they
Yes.
still
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. So my family started growing coffee in the 1890s. So this year
Wow.
is the
Okay.
124th harvest for the family. And
cow.
the family did really well and bought a bunch of land. And then
Okay.
as the generations expanded, the farms got split up. And so there's
Sure,
there's
okay.
over 5 farms that are in the family. And in Latin countries, we call family even extended family. So
Sure. Okay.
I have cousins in the third degree, even
Cousins and
in the
uncles and
yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the cool thing is we can grow a lot before we run out of family coffee. I mean, we could get really, really big,
Wow.
which is great. And then we also started in 2012 when we moved to this location. We started buying coffee from other farms as well.
All right.
So we started visiting Nicaragua, Guatemala, and a few other countries. So we also have coffee from Peru and now from Africa and Kenya.
That's awesome. Are you still partial to Brazilian coffee though? Or-
That's the family.
That's the
yeah.
family,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. So the cool thing about coffee, it's a lot like wine.
Right.
So different regions of the world will produce coffee with very different taste.
Sure.
And so I find it exciting to vary a little bit. And in the beginning, I couldn't really tell the difference. It was all just coffee to me.
Sure.
And now I can really.
Now there's a
drink the
big
cup
difference.
and-
Yeah. So what's the key to? I'm getting ahead of myself here, but what's the key to distinguishing between a Brazilian or a Guatemalan or a Kenyan or whatever? Is it just something you have to be taught, or is it?
Sure. I mean, some people just naturally have a better sensitivity, and
Okay.
it's funny. Women usually are naturally more have a more
Really?
developed palate. Yeah, and I didn't. So really, when I first tasted coffee, I went to a tasting where they had a really good coffee and like 2 really good coffees and 2 different types of defects, and I couldn't tell the difference. And I felt like, oh my god, I'm starting this
funny.
coffee company. I can't tell the difference. And this was back in the day, and like anything, there's some learning involved.
Sure.
And so now I've done it. They say it takes about 500 coffee cuppings, which is a tasting process, for you to really get to know
500.
the difference. And now I can pretty confidently say what coffee would have a defect, name some of the properties in the coffee.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that have you seen the movie Somm?
I haven't seen it yet.
Sommelier.
Yeah.
So it's about these guys who are studying for their sommelier exam, and it's the hardest test in the world. But when they're practicing, they're doing all this wine, they're swirling it, and they're like naming all these things. Is that can you like if you taste coffee, can you name like the region and the soil and all these other stuff, or is that more difficult to do with coffee?
It's difficult to guess exactly where it's from.
Sure.
My head roaster, he's like a published author, and he could get pretty close, like completely blind. Like he's amazing. And I mean, he's if I've done cuppings 500 times, he's probably done it 50,000 times.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he can name. So it's a little bit like muscle. It's a muscle that you develop as you taste. The
muscle memory. You just remember what's
and then you just a lot of learning involved. But you can definitely tell the acidity, the brightness, what kind of fruits it reminds you of, and what the coffee will taste like if it's poured as an espresso or a drip coffee or French press.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think coffee is one of those things that are, I guess like most things like this, it can be, you've got Folgers crystals, we'll say, on one side, and then the other end we've got your stuff, and everything in between, and it's just fascinating. My well, I won't say who, but I have some family members who are insistent that all coffee tastes the same. I'm like, how can you possibly?
Yeah.
It's like, taste these two. You can't tell.
So here's
difference.
one way to really get people to taste the difference in coffee. One, drinking it side by side, because when you drink one day and then another one another day, it's harder. The other thing is to let the coffee cool down. So a really good cup of coffee is one that you're drinking it and then you forget about it and then you come back to it and you drink it and it's like room temperature and it still tastes really good. If you have a cup of Folgers and it's really hot, you'll survive the first few sips because it's really hot. It overrides your
you almost can't taste exactly what's going on.
It's the opposite of beer, right? So it's a hot day and you get a really, really cold piss beer, and it tastes really good, especially if it's after a run, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly,
it's just like you're hydrating.
Yes,
and it tastes really
carbs,
good. But if that beer sits there and warms up,
yeah.
you can't drink it. But if it was a
Right.
really good IPA and it got to room temperature, you could still drink it.
Sure.
So, anyways, if they have Folgers and you let that cool down, and then you have a good cup of coffee and you let that cool down, even to lukewarm, it doesn't have to be as cold as room temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. My wife swears that she prefers coffee in that state when it's a little bit cooler. So maybe
it's probably because you guys buy really good coffee.
She's
at home.
on. Well, we try. We try. How much does the brewing process go into it? And when you buy it pre-ground or grind it at home or grind it moments before you brew it in the water, like how much of a factor does all that? I guess what I'm asking is, can you take a really nice high-end coffee and the way that you're brewing it ruins it, and vice versa? Could you guys take, we're picking on Folgers, but take Folgers out of a can and make it taste better?
So there's we could talk about this for 3 hours. So I'll try to say,
like, curiosity just got the best of me here.
The 3-minute version. So there's pretty much 5 ways you can ruin coffee from the moment it leaves the tree. So when you pick that ripe cherry from the tree, that's the most perfect it's going to be. So it's the job of everybody in the supply chain to get, the final cup to its highest potential.
Sure.
But you can ruin it from there. So one, you could pick the coffee green, so you're already, messing it up. But you can pick that cherry ripe, but then the farmer can mess up the processing. Okay. They can leave it in a bag for too long, so it gets fermented. Or so the farmer has not only to grow really good coffee, they have to do the drying process. And then there's the export cycle and making sure that the green beans will last. They'll last up to 5 years, but really they'll start losing freshness after 6 months or so.
Okay.
And now we have different ways of packaging the coffee so that it's not exposed to moisture. So anyway, so there's the farmer, there's the export cycle, and then there's the roaster.
Which is what you guys have.
Yes. And so with roasting, you can roast it too fast, too slow. It's also not a uniform process where you just put it in the roaster and let it, let it get brown.
Just do what it needs to do.
There's parts of the roasting process where you want to push the beans. You want to give it as much heat as possible. And then at other points when there's chemical reactions happening, you want to slow it down a little bit. Okay. And then you want to push it again a little bit, then slow it down towards the end. So there's and I totally butchered it. My roaster would kill me right now. It's definitely not that simple.
That's okay. But leave a comment if you disagree with his explanation. We'll talk about it.
Yeah. So there's the roasting curve. You hear about coffees that are slow roasted. A lot of times for bigger roasts, the longer you roast it, you essentially are making the coffee more bland. And so. So another part of roasting is there's a lot of micro roasters that are really pushing the limits of light roasts, and light roasts really help you get just to the core of what that bean is. But if you roast it too light, then it's a little bit green and vegetal light. So there's a limit of how light you can go. Then the darker you roast it, you're replacing the flavor of the coffee with the flavor of the roasting process. So like if you can take the same bean and you can roast it to different levels and it will start, progressively tasting darker. Sure. So there's the theory of why, bigger roasters will do really dark roast because they can take beans from different regions,
just blend it all together
and have some defect and they roast it really dark and you're tasting that like when people say I like my coffee bold, you're tasting the roasting process, not the actual nuances of the beans.
I did not know that because I definitely like a darker, bolder coffee, but that's
and there's nothing wrong with liking a dark
amateur palate is what that's.
No, there's nothing wrong with liking a darker roasted coffee. I like the variety, and at Nossa Familia, we're one of the few micro roasters that will actually do a French roast. There's a lot of micro roasters in town that are doing just light roasts, and they think we're idiots for doing. I don't know if they think that or not, but they refuse to do a darker roast.
Okay.
But a darker roast tastes like what we associate coffee with.
Right.
It's got some dark chocolate notes, some tobacco. It goes well with a hint of cream. It's like it's delicious, and it goes really well with like a pastry.
Yes.
So we don't want to tell people that they're right or wrong for drinking a dark roast or drinking a light roast. Generally, the rule of thumb for me is a light roast. I don't like adding any cream because I'm really tasting the nuances of the coffee.
Right.
You're getting some of the fruitiness.
Then you dilute it with anything additional.
Yeah. Especially coffees that are very fruity. If you put cream, it's like some teas you can't really put cream in. You know.
Sure.
Anyway, so going back to the topic of brewing. So the roasting process is very important. And then when we're done roasting it, it goes to our customers. And our customers are both people that buy online from us directly, or they buy coffee here at our espresso bar.
Here.
Or they are customers like Petit Provence Bakery or Grand Central Bakery, who they will brew the coffee. And so this lab here is actually where we teach their staff how to make better coffee.
That's okay.
Because you can't take Folgers and make it taste good. But
a little bit better, maybe?
I don't know. But you can take really good coffee, and then the barista can mess it up. Because an espresso specialist, it's very sensitive. Within, like, if you brew it 5 seconds too slow or 5 seconds too fast, it's completely different. And then there's also, like, we become experts in milk and milk alternatives. Again, if you serve it too hot or too cold, that can mess up the drink. Too foamy, too flat. So there's a really so all those steps: the farmer, the importer, the roaster, the barista.
Okay.
So one of the things we started doing here, we started doing a home brewing class. So not a full espresso training, though we do espresso training for home baristas as well. But how to brew better coffee at home. So that includes
I should start taking notes here. Where's
do you need a pen?
No, I'm kidding.
We'll come back for that one.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do another session.
Yeah.
And so we talk about the grinding, and then how to grind properly, and then how to brew properly. And so again,
so there's even a grinding right and wrong way to grind it.
Yeah. Okay. So you asked about grinding fresh and not fresh.
Right.
So again, this is where I'm not as meticulous as my head roaster.
Sure.
So if need be, for convenience for an event, I'll grind, or at home, like I'll grind coffee ahead of time. But ideally, most of the time, I'm grinding coffee right before I'm brewing.
Sure.
So, what ruins coffee is the oxidation. So just being exposed to oxygen. So when it's in bean form, it retains, it's less exposed to oxygen.
Sure.
As soon as you grind it, that's when you get a lot of the great aroma, but then you're exposing all of that to oxygen as well. So ideally, if you have a grinder, grind it right before.
We've got one of those grind and brews, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's convenient.
And it's a terrible sound to wake up to in the morning, but it's very convenient.
Yeah, yeah. The other thing is how you grind the coarseness is very important. So because you don't want to over extract or under extract the coffee. Okay. So when you're drinking a cup of coffee, again, I'm going to butcher the number. My roaster can comment, correct me. We're looking for about 19% solubility. So we want to extract 19% of the total solubles in the coffee. If you extract more, then the coffee is really going to get more and more bitter. If you extract less, you're not, getting the full potential, and it's not going to taste as good either. So to do that, like on a drip coffee machine like the one back here, we want to have the water come in at the right temperature and the right speed.
Sure.
If the coffee is too coarse, like if it's ground coarse for French press, it's going to go through too fast, and it's going to be under extracted. If we put espresso grind in there, it would taste really bitter because it would over extract.
Yeah. Okay.
So each brew style requires a different grind level.
Sure.
And so the rule of thumb is for immersion types like French press, where the water is sitting in the coffee for a while and not just going through it like a pour over or a drip machine.
Like a normal.
Yeah. So for immersion types, you want a coarser setting.
Okay. Interesting. That's I'll have to go check. I don't even think our machine has different settings. It's just one.
Usually it does. The rule of thumb is table salt. That's a good grind level for a drip machine or any pour over.
Sure. Fascinating. I'll have to come take your class.
It's really fun.
When's that offered? Or how often is it offered?
It's on our website. It's by appointment, so I'm pretty sure we have it slots in the weekends, so that's convenient for people. It's a great way. You come to
Sure.
the Pearl for a couple of hours,
Yeah.
learn how to brew coffee, drink a bunch of coffee while you're
Go
learning,
home all buzzed and
and then grab
jittery.
lunch over here and grab a, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a fun class.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit and talk about Nossa Familia. Nossa Familia, which is that Portuguese? Did I read
It
that?
is.
For our family or
Yeah.
our families?
Yeah, so some
Our
people
family?
think of the mafia, like
Right.
Cosa Nostra,
Yeah.
buy our coffee or else. But it's Portuguese.
That's not what you guys are
Well, maybe
advocating.
Ah.
I don't remember.
So Nossa Familia just simply means our family. So it's
Okay.
not an overly creative name, but it's really what makes us unique.
Sure.
We're one of the very few totally vertically integrated companies where my family's growing the coffee in Brazil. We're importing, and actually, one of my cousins has the export company. We're the importers.
Okay.
We're the roasters, and we have a cafe as well. And
Right.
actually, we're opening more cafes this coming year. And so it's pretty rare to have in one family that whole vertical integration.
Yeah, that's cool. How do you describe your company culture, and how does that fit in with that integration and then that idea of family and kind of all of those things? Like, what is that? I guess what I'm asking is, what does that look like on a daily basis here? And is that something customers pick up on, you think?
I hope they pick up on the friendliness of
Sure.
our baristas. We're in a town where some baristas or some shops get accused of being very snobbish,
Yeah.
and that's totally not us. Like
Right.
one of the things we talked about to our baristas in the training is confidence with humility. So have confidence that you know what you're doing. You're a really great coffee professional, but have humility that we can still learn from
Sure.
others, and that there really is no right or wrong. There's best practices. So
Yeah.
we're not going to make people feel bad for asking, a question.
Sure.
In fact, somebody comes in and they ask a really basic question in coffee, instead of the baristas rolling their eye like, oh, this person will not, knows not their coffee. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is awesome. This is somebody who is curious to learn.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, a teachable moment.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how on the retail side we train our baristas and we hire super friendly people.
Yeah.
Culture-wise, our stated purpose for being, and this didn't come overnight, it's after a lot of thinking, is to deliver delicious farm direct coffee while creating positive relationships locally and globally. And so how do we do that? One, we treat everybody super well. We've argued, like, do we want to say we treat people like family? Because you can't
That's the Olive Garden.
yeah, because the reality is it's a professional relationship, so it's
Sure.
treating people professionally in the work environment. So while we have a super fun work atmosphere, we also have pretty good accountability, and we have
Right,
high expectations of the staff.
Specific goals and metrics and things that you're shooting for. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then we really to really hone in our culture, we really focus on our core values. So
Okay.
I don't have my business card here, but we even put in the back of my business cards are all
cool.
our core values. So I'll tell you about a couple. So one of them is, this came up on the shower or in the run, I don't know. It's ABMF, stands for Always Be
ABMF,
Making
okay.
Friends.
Oh,
And it's a simple one to say, hey, life's short. There's a lot of cool people out there. Let's give people the benefit of the doubt. Strangers are simply people we haven't made friends with yet.
yeah.
So that's a big one. And then we have entrepreneurial spirit is a big one as well, because we started the company with $800 and we've grown it to this level, and it required a lot of creativity, a lot of improvisation. We've had a lot of challenges that we had to we got to turn this into an opportunity and make do.
Yeah, that's cool. It's one of those things are the specifically always be, what was it, MF?
Yeah.
Making friends.
Yeah.
We were really drawn to you guys by that, because that's essentially what we're about. In my mind, the running world, the craft beer world, and the coffee world is really about bringing people together over kind of the shared interest and in some ways doing life together. So I don't know how many great conversations I've had in life. Some of probably my biggest conversations, life moments, have all been either on a run, sharing a beer, or sharing a coffee with someone. And so it's just so fun to find, like-minded souls who are like, yeah, that's what we're about too. And, obviously you love coffee and have a passion for coffee, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's about bigger than that, right? It's not just the
It
coffee.
is,
It's
it
about,
is.
like you
And
said, the family and the friendships.
and I've told my employees this before, like because people ask, have you always loved coffee? And I'm like, well, I've always drank it because when we were kids
Right.
visiting the farm in the holidays, like we would dip our bread in coffee, you know,
Sure.
and do kind of like the French café au lait, so like a coffee with milk.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, since we were 6 or 7.
Sure.
But if my family had, if they were cacao farmers, we would be sitting here talking about chocolate.
Yes, exactly.
So it wasn't so much because I love coffee, it's because my family has this beautiful coffee farm,
Right.
this, I have this great heritage that I'm really proud of. And so, so that's why it's coffee.
Yeah. So it's so wonderful to be in and about the family business, but taking it further perhaps than what you grew up with. How often do you get home? Do you get back down?
So
back
I
down
get
there?
down almost every year.
Okay.
Well, every year. There's been maybe 1 year in the last 10 years that I haven't been able to make it
Okay.
down. And it's one of there's a lot of hard parts of owning a business.
What, really? I thought it was super easy.
But it last few years have gotten a lot of fun because we grew past this critical mass where we have enough
Sure.
people and enough specificity in positions where everybody still has to wear multiple hats, but it's a little bit less crazy. And so it's the crew here is awesome. So I'm able to hand them the keys and say, call me if things.
I'm out of here, guys.
But
Yeah.
I go for about a month every time because it's
Oh,
so
wow.
far, it's so expensive.
Sure.
And so the last trip I actually got to go spend 2 weeks in the farm and then went to Rio and I got to go to the Olympics.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So there's a few really fun moments.
Sure.
The best part though about travel, and it's one of the reasons we wanted to work with other coffee origins, is now we get to travel to other countries as well.
Sure.
And then it kind of ties into the ABMF. We get to make friends in different countries.
Great. Yeah.
And so, and ABMF goes beyond like me or my employees making friends. We also want to connect people. So a recent example is we started doing a tour to Guatemala. So I've done six coffee tours in Brazil where I take people from here
Okay.
to go to Brazil.
Like a coffee vacation, kind of.
Yeah, it's we call it
that's
like
fun.
coffee, cultural, culinary, and cycling. Like I've done
Oh,
mountain
nice.
biking
Sure,
at the farm.
sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately Brazil is super far and
Right.
really expensive for some people to be able to afford. And we have these great farming partners in Guatemala, as well as a nonprofit that has a house that they host university groups. And so 2 years in a row now, we've taken groups of people. So the first trip was me, 4 employees plus
Okay.
some
That's cool.
some customers.
Yeah.
And so now we have essentially a little travel branch of Nossa Familia.
It's so fun.
Yeah, and every year we're going to take people to farms and introduce, so people can really see where coffee comes from. Because everybody loves coffee, but
Right.
like most things, we just kind of take it for granted. It's like, I just
yeah.
assume it comes from a supermarket shelf and somebody
Exactly.
roasted it.
Or from a little pod, God
Yeah,
forbid.
yeah. Another cool thing is like in this last year, we took one of our farmers from Nicaragua, who's a newer farmer.
Timoteo?
So no,
Or no, that's a different guy.
different
okay.
guy. So
Okay.
Bayardo, we took Bayardo
Okay.
to the Guatemala trip, and he got to meet Timoteo.
Oh,
And
fun.
so,
Okay.
so we helped facilitate this really great learning between 2 neighboring countries.
Yeah. I imagine that's like, wine farmers, hop farmer, any farmer, I guess, going and like learning from each other and like, well, we do it a little bit differently and trying to take the best practices from each. And yeah, I imagine they don't have much of an opportunity to do that otherwise.
Not all the time. Maybe
Yeah.
in the same region or same city.
Sure.
But you mentioned the name Timoteo. He's a really
Yeah,
cool.
you guys have a great
farmer.
video up on your website.
Yeah, and he's the
looking at
president of the
that.
co-op, and he's a networker. He loves sharing and teaching
Sure.
people. So
Okay. That's fantastic. Tell me, what is a B Corp? A certified B Corp. You're the only, is this right? The only coffee roaster
in Oregon,
in Oregon is a certified B Corp.
Yeah.
What is that and why is that significant?
So B Corp is a certification for sustainability and for social impact.
Okay.
So it's businesses that are focusing on being a force for good. So we, I know a lot of really great nonprofits, but we believe we can also make a positive impact on the world and be a for-profit business. So our business is not all about profitability.
Okay.
We call it, it's the triple bottom line. So it's we do need to be profitable so that we can keep reinvesting
Sure.
and growing.
Sure.
But it's about people and the planet as well.
That's very cool.
And
That's so
people include
important.
our staff and also suppliers.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so. It's so cool because sometimes you hear of organizations that are doing great, but they're all nonprofits, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what about the for-profit, companies that they can also do good and I don't know, possibly even more good because maybe they have more resources or more ability to do that. But yeah, I was watching the video on I don't know, the B Corp website, and you're in some pretty good company of other B Corps nationally. So,
and locally in Oregon, people
Sure, of
recognize
course.
New Seasons,
Right.
Hopworks Brewery. There's a lot of
Yeah.
really good ones. So these
Yeah.
are people that are in business, and they want to make money for their investments and the risk that we take as business owners. So we have to have profitability, but we want to treat people really well and our suppliers really well.
You can still do good. Yeah, it's sort of flies in the face of everybody that thinks corporations of any size are evil. And, so that's cool. Was that something that you intentionally set out to get, or were you just kind of doing what you do and realized, oh, we might meet these criteria. Let's try to become certified.
Yeah, so when I started Nossa Familia, I remember looking at a bag of a new, like a product, and it was a Newman's Own.
Okay.
I don't know if it was a sauce or what, and it was like
a dressing
saying
or whatever.
how many millions they had raised, and I was just starting the business, and we didn't even have our coffee up on the shelves yet, and I was thinking, well, how long is it going to take us to be able to donate any money?
Okay.
And so I said, well, why wait? Why don't we make this whole company a fundraising model? And so every pound of coffee we sell, we'll set money aside.
That's great.
And so from day one, we started that. And the first year, I was a little bit embarrassed. I had a friend who was starting Engineers Without Borders in town, so the local chapter. And I remember handing him a check for like $39. And like, here's a little. But the next year, it was $250, and then $1,500, and then
That's awesome.
and then the cool thing last year, it was our 11th year in business, and our donations in cash totaled $100,000 from the inception. So that's like, wow,
that's just from the company, or does that include your team members donate, or is that a different?
That's just like Nossa Familia writing out checks.
Wow.
And then we donate a lot of product for
Yes.
charity events, community events. And so, you
Brewery running series events.
Exactly, yeah. And that, those are community building events.
Right.
Yeah. And so my estimate is that for every dollar we donate in cash, we donate another $2 in product.
Wow.
So
that's so. I just love that. I mean, one, congratulations. It's so cool, but also it's so admirable, and I think it's something that, other businesses can really use as an example. And how do we tailor our business in that way that does good and gives back? And
I think a lot of times, like we look at like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all these big foundations, and then like, well, when I'm a $1 billion company, and really there's no need to wait. And there's a huge benefit, especially there's a lot of people that complain about millennials being hard to work with, or they expect to make an impact right away. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's make an impact.
Yeah, let's leverage that and do something.
Yeah.
Talk about is it the PAIR?
Yes,
the PAIR program. I was reading about that. It sounds fascinating. Is that something that you're still doing right now?
Yeah. So PAIR is a great nonprofit that helps homeless youth, and they do a lot of great work.
Yeah.
Primarily in offering them a place during the day where people can come and they can do art and they can, be themselves, and find support. And then one of the components is they've had this barista school where they want to teach the kids how to be barista. So it's jobs training.
Yeah.
And so we got involved 4 years ago. Time flies.
Okay,
so maybe 4 years ago. And so we host them here for a barista class. And a lot of times, you can teach quite a bit in 2 hours, but really to become a good barista requires a few sessions.
Right.
With their training program, we collaborated with their executive director and their team to figure out what else do the kids need. Because, some of it is like behaving professionally, a dress code, coming up with your first resume. So
basic job skills, really.
Basic job skills, showing up on time.
Yeah.
And so it's like an 8-week session.
Okay.
And so we've graduated, I don't know, 6 classes at this point.
Good for you.
And
That's
there's a couple of times where we've hired some of the graduates to work at our farmers markets.
Okay.
Or we've helped them find jobs. But Pear really deserves most of the credit. They're the ones that conceptualized this, and we help by providing a coffee professional and some inspiration and giving tours here and help them work here.
Well, it's great. I was, like I said, when I was reading about it, I thought that was such a great, because we hear about the homeless problem so much in Portland, and everybody, is like, well, where do we put these people? And, obviously you're not completely solving that problem, but one way is, well, how do we help them get back on their feet if that's what they want, or provide some opportunity to actually not just put them somewhere, but help them thrive and maybe, I don't know, find a spot for them in society that isn't just, on the street corner with signs. So
yeah. And then one really
nice.
Cool thing is where the Pear headquarters, I think it's 6th and Flanders, Northwest. Google it. It's they've opened a coffee window, so they're open for business. Okay. And they're serving really great quality coffee.
Is it your coffee or
it's our coffee? Of course. But by quality, I mean they're doing a great job brewing it, and the money goes to a great cause.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I wanna, do you still have time for a quick little tour? I want to ask you, my last question though is, a big part of the Brew Running Series is being active, running, whatever. What is your activity? I see you've got a Garmin on. What is your thing?
Yeah, I'm gonna stand up too because I've been sitting for too long. So I was one of those kids that would do 4 different sports.
Sure.
And then I focused in in high school I focused into tennis, and I played. That's how I came to the U.S. to play on a tennis team here. Yeah. Did that for 2 years, and then I transitioned a lot into cycling. So I did racing, and if it's got 2 wheels, I'm on it. Like road, track, mountain biking,
Segway, whatever.
Yeah, not one wheel. I tried unicycle.
That's not your thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not the Darth Vader.
Yeah, I'm not. Uniper. Yeah. Okay.
And so recently, I mean, I commute, and I've done
bike
bicycle tours
every day, right? Or
almost every day.
Okay.
Yeah. Now with kids having to pick up and baseball season.
Yeah.
But I do like to have a strong core. I'm doing more just the core workouts like plank and all of that. Yeah. But I love triathlon, so I've done a handful. Okay. I've only done the longest I've done is a half Ironman.
The longest you've done. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's really fun. But yeah, it's just the running, cycling, and swimming that will keep you fit.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, and we'd love to have you come run it at one of our events sometime. We'll obviously comp your entry, but
sweet.
It'd be fun to have you out there. Well, let me. Okay, so if you're watching at home, what I'm going to do is going to go take this thing off the tripod, and then I think I'll just follow you. Okay. Follow you around. This is unprecedented in the history of the Oregon Brew Running Series show. But I'm excited because this is a really cool facility, and we'll get the inside scoop. So
all right,
stay tuned.
So that is the espresso machine. So this is like a functioning coffee shop where we teach people how to make coffee.
Wonderful. And that's a mini?
This is a mini, it's a sample roaster. Before we buy 20,000 pounds of coffee, we will sample a part of it so we know it fits into the quality that we're looking for.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming out into
this. Something I want to show you in this fridge that I'm excited about. We just launched this iced coffee product. So these are cool bottles, so you'll start seeing this around some more. And we brew this a little bit differently. Instead of using a cold brew method, which is really good, we use a Japanese iced coffee style. So we brew it hot and flash chill it. Okay. So it's really crisp, a really great finish.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Then let me show you what we're really proud of is our iced coffee bike.
The iced coffee bike right here. Are you going to be driving this around town?
I hope so, yeah.
Okay.
So this goes like this for transportation.
All right.
And then our designer did a great job painting it.
Very cool. Very cool. All right.
And we don't have the top handle, but we'll have kegs over here, and we'll be able to serve. So the builder.
Okay, so the kegs go in there.
Yep.
Or back there.
And we'll serve iced coffee out of here.
Is that a electronic assist bike?
It's not.
It's pretty heavy.
We're so active. We're so strong.
Nice.
We bought it without the e-assist to begin with, and we're going to see how it does.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. You got to get a bike like that for your kids. You just shove them in there.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, we had the Matson in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what's over here? Might have to talk a little bit louder.
Okay. So we're coming up to the roaster. This is the hopper where we load the green beans. So we do about 75 pounds per batch. Right. So it'll get sectioned up to the top hopper, and then the roasting happens in this chamber here. So this roaster is really cool. It's made in Northern California, so it's all made in the USA. And they figured out a way to recycle the hot air. And so it's got an embedded afterburner, and it's not an extra afterburner on top. Okay. So it only uses 20% of the energy that other roasters use. Wow. So it's an 80% energy saving and 80% emission saving. So Kyle is one of our roasters, and it looks like he's getting towards the end of a batch here. How long do you have to go?
Probably 2-3 minutes.
Okay. And so if you look at his computer screen, those are the curves, the roasting curves we were talking about. That screen over there. And so what he's doing here, he's using the fryer. So even though we use computer systems and it's very advanced, we also do a lot by touch and feel. So he's smelling to see what chemical reactions take place, and if you should speed up or slow down the roasting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is the production crew over here. So these guys help put coffee in bags here for our customers. And this is really cool. For Mother's Day, we're making sure everybody makes their mothers feel special. So every employee is sending free coffee to their mom.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you guys.
So we're part of our...
You guys pack all these bags by hand?
So everything's by hand. So this is a weigh and fill machine. So they're doing some by hand. A lot of times we use this and then it weighs it precisely.
Okay. Yeah. How many of these do you do a day?
We do about 1,200 to 1,700 pounds per day.
Wow.
Over here is the green beans. So this is how coffee arrives. These are 70 kilogram bags. So really heavy. The plastic lining is something new that helps the coffee stay fresher.
And where are these from?
This one is from Colombia. So this is a coffee that we roast for somebody else.
Okay.
The paper bags are from Brazil.
Okay. These are here. Is this from your family farm?
Yeah, that's a new material that my cousins started working with. And partly it's to save our back. So when we're unloading, we're lifting, 60 pounds at a time and not 150 pounds at a time.
What's the name of the... Does the farm your family farm have a name?
Yeah, so the main one we buy from is Fazenda Recreo.
Fazenda Recreo.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also Santa Alina.
Okay.
And then Cachoeira. Those are the three main ones. Yeah. And then this is really cool. This is one of the farmers in Guatemala. Yeah. And they started working with a company that does recycled denim. These are denim, yeah.
Blue jeans.
And so I can't reveal yet, but we're working with a national company that will turn these, they will upcycle these into some tote bags.
Wow.
So that's going to come up soon. We'll share it on the show notes.
Yeah, totally. That's cool.
Let's go back to the roaster because it's almost done.
Okay. Yeah, let's see that process there.
Huh. So that's the fan that will cool the beans. And so there it is. So at the end,
what's happening there?
So at the end of the roast, there's a strong suction, that's the extra noise, and that's pulling cold air through the beans to stop the roasting process. Otherwise, the coffee keeps getting darker. Yeah.
So this is spinning it to cool it down, basically?
It's spinning and sucking room temperature air.
Okay.
Yeah, it's doing both, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So are these basically done and ready to, once they cool down, ready to drink?
Actually, there's such thing as too fresh. And if it's within 24 hours, it's too fresh.
Okay.
The coffee's still off-gassing, so if you brew it, it's really bubbly. And it'll taste a little bit darker than it actually is because it still has a lot of CO2.
Gotcha.
For espresso, you actually want to age the coffee 2 to 4 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We keep talking about freshness and people want coffee as fresh as possible. And usually for home use, that's true because by the time it gets from here, because this coffee will get bagged today or tomorrow. It'll go to stores tomorrow or the next day. So by the time people are buying it, it'll be the ideal 4 to 7 day time. Yeah.
Interesting. Should we go in the espresso bar?
Yeah. So this is our espresso bar. Two of our expert baristas.
All right. Let's see.
And Sienna's gonna show us how it's done.
Sienna. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Sienna. What's the first step?
First step is to clean your espresso bar so you're on film and it doesn't look so
All right.
bad. Let's just
Perfect.
pretend like it's always clean.
We'll just magically. Okay.
Oh, look at that. You'll just cut that part out.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So the first step is to zero out your scale so that you know how much you're weighing in, because the ratio is super important to keep things consistent.
You're grinding that in espresso grind, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's too much.
So they have precise measurements. So currently we're using 19 grams to pull a shot in. So now she's tamping. So making sure it's a
Gotta
nice
be very level.
Okay. And what does that do? I've always wondered why you.
So you need to tamp with at least 30 pounds of pressure for it to go through the machine and not turn into like just water. Like it's gotta be tight enough that when the pressure hits it, it withstands the weight.
Okay.
And then if you point to the shot coming out, and then this is a timer. This is really cool. With the underneath, you can see that how syrupy it's looking. And by about 20 seconds, it should all combine into ours.
That's cool. Sorry, I'm totally in your way.
That's called a naked portafilter, because you can see it. The old school, you have two. Yeah, it divides it into two. This you can see how the shot's coming out. See if it's coming out even and not spraying anywhere. And now she's steaming the milk, and so not only is she working on getting the right temperature, but she's working on getting the right consistency with micro bubbles, so she can do the latte art. So you'll want to keep her close in it.
Don't worry,
And she delivers under pressure.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And doing latte art is really hard because you're pouring the milk in one spot, and then it's coming through the surface in another spot.
Whoa, look at that. Look at that.
Beautiful.
Wow.
And that's
That is
Sienna,
a
the
work
master.
of art. Well done. Well
Thank you.
done.
Have a throw down tomorrow. See you on Thursday.
Why don't I take this so you can take a sip?
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
All right.
This man's got a hard, difficult job.
This is rough.
This is
All
one of the perks of it.
It's so beautiful. I don't know if I.
You can do it. It's okay. It's gonna look very ugly in a couple minutes.
No.
That's good.
Good stuff?
That is good. Wow. Oh, that's good stuff. Well done. How long have you been at this?
I've been a barista for about 5 years.
Okay.
But I've been practicing my latte art for about like a year and a half.
Okay. So is this what you do when you go home at night? You just pour?
No. It's just a lot of customers coming up.
Totally.
So it's a lot easier.
Oh, this is really good.
Got this. What is this for? Oh, is that me?
Awesome. All right. Well, there you have it. Nossa Familia. We'll let these guys get back to work here. But come join us at one of our events, and you can have some of their coffee. You can't have this, but you can come here. You have a few locations, right?
So we have two right now. So this is 13th and Johnson, next to REI in the Pearl. And then we opened one at 3rd and Clay in Southeast, and it's in the lobby.
Right by Safeway.
Yes.
Right?
No. There's a sandwich shop called Stacked. It's a building where the bank Simple.com is.
Okay. Yes, I know where that is.
And we built a espresso cart in the lobby there.
Okay.
And we're building a brick and mortar that will be beautiful.
Very
and
cool.
that's coming in 3 months.
Okay.
This spot was going to transition once we move from this warehouse. It's going to transition a block away to across the street from Safeway on 13th and Lovejoy.
Close. Okay.
And then we're actually opening one in LA. If you have people following in LA.
Awesome.
On Monday, we're inaugurating our espresso bar in LA.
Very
downtown.
cool.
Yeah.
Augusto, I've taken up a lot of your time, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Coffee is delicious. The company is even better. So thank you so much. And we'll see you out there at one of our runs.
All right.
All right. Take care.